بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Last time we talked about Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the Tawheed of Lordship. And the second type of Tawheed is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. And this is Tawheed of worship. It is called Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah because we attribute it to Allah. It's also called Tawheed al-Ibadah because it's attributed to the forms of worship and to worshipping Allah the Almighty. And it can also be called Tawheed al-Qasdi wal-Talabi wal-Irada. And either way, this form of Tawheed is one of the highest and most important forms of Tawheed. It is to worship Allah Azza wa Jal alone with all types of ibadah, whether it is verbal or through actions, whether it is concealed or exposed and apparent to everyone. And Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah is to completely deny and to reject giving or offering any type of worship to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ. Allah had decreed that you must not worship except Him. And also it can be defined as worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal with the actions of His servants. So Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the Lordship Tawheed, is worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal through His actions, being the Creator, the giver of life and death, the facilitator of all things, the provider, the Razzaq, etc. While Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, the Tawheed of worship, is worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal with our own deeds and actions. And this is the type of Tawheed that the error has occurred and the defects and all the problems took place. And this is why Allah had sent the prophets and the messengers, peace be upon them, so that they would clarify this to their people and to bring them back from darkness to the light. And through this form of Tawheed, those who followed the messengers were successful and those who didn't failed and went to hell. Allah Azza wa Jal says, and we did not send any messenger before you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but we inspired him, saying, La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. So worship me alone and none else. So this is clear that only Allah is worthy of being worshipped. And Allah Azza wa Jal also says that is because Allah, He is the truth, and that which they invoke besides Him is al-batil, which means falsehood, Satan, and all other false deities. And that Allah, He is the Most High, the Most Great. This form of Tawheed is indeed one of the greatest forms of Tawheed, and where the deviation in the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, in the followers of the Muhammad ﷺ, the deviation took place in this form of Tawheed. So now, when we say Tawheed of al-Uluhiyyah, what are we referring to? The sky is the limit. If you pray, this has to be to Allah. If you prostrate, if you bow, if you have trust, it has to be only in Allah. If you have fear, you have to fear only Allah. If you have hope, you have to have hope only in Allah. When you seek cure for your children, your heart should be connected with Allah, knowing that only He can cure them. When you want something and you want it real bad, your heart has to be connected with Allah, knowing that only Allah can bring you benefit. And when you fear something and you want to seek refuge, you seek refuge in Allah Azza wa Jal, because you know that only Allah the Almighty has the power to give you refuge from what you fear and what you worry about. And hence, these types of worship, we will find that they can be verbal, they can be through our actions with our bodies, and they can be by the heart. All of this is what the book of Tawheed revolves around. And this is where you find a lot of the Muslims falling into blatant shirk. They worship other than Allah. Go to dargahs, go to graveyards, and you find them worshipping the dead. Look what the sects and cults are saying. Ya Hussein, they're calling Al-Hussein, they're calling Ali, and asking him for benefit and seeking refuge in him from evil. And they're dead. They don't even have any benefit that they can bring to themselves, let alone to you and I. So when you see people, even the slightest forms of shirk, it's still shirk. When we have a shirk al-asghar, the minor shirk, when people say, last quarter I managed to fulfill my targets and increase the profit by 25% and reduce expenditure by 50%, and I managed to do this and I managed to do that. When you attribute all what you have done to yourself, neglecting Allah Azza wa Jal, even verbally, although your heart is content, but verbally you did not acknowledge Allah's grace over you, this is considered to be part of the minor shirk that the scholars have warned us of. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.